Olá, amores, boa noite. Aqui quem fala é Andy, The Social Girl, muitos cabelos, pouco make-up tonight. E eu tenho hoje o prazer de trazer uma convidada super especial. A gente vai estar fazendo a entrevista em inglês, porque ela é do leste africano. E então ela vai estar falando de culinária e de empreendedorismo, de como ela transformou uma receita de família em um case de sucesso, e ela vende em super monte de supermercados famosos, tudo. E eu trouxe hoje ela para vocês aqui. So, let's introduce our very special guest tonight here at Sem Frescura. I'm honored to have Fatima from Fatima Samosas. I've been trying to bring her for a while. She's a very super busy lady, and she is a passionate chef. She transformed like a lovely recipe family tradition in a business entrepreneur between us. And welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, share a little bit of your journey with us. How you came to Canada. Where are you from? Because people
So
are curious.
I'm from Kenya. Originally, I was born in Kenya, a little place called Nakuru. And then when I was about 4.5 years old, my whole family, so me, my mom, my dad, and my two brothers, we immigrated to Canada. And we lived here till I was about 20 years old. And then I got married to my husband, who's from Tanzania. And I lived in Tanzania for, I want to say, about 3-4 years. But through and through, my entire family is African. My parents are from Tanzania. My brothers were born in Kenya as well. So it's a very African family. And then when I moved to Tanzania, again, the whole culture, the food, and I am a huge foodie. I love food. So the food, all of that, it was just like, oh, this is amazing. Then I came down for vacation one year, and my mom is like, you should learn how to make samosas. And I don't know how you are like this, but if my mom tells me to do anything, the first response is always, nope, I don't want to do it. And so that was my first response. And my sister-in-law, so my older brother's wife, she was like, no, I'm making them, come sit with me and whatever. And she's a great teacher. So she taught me, and honestly, the first couple that I made had holes in them. They were popping in the oil. It was a mess. And then slowly I learned, and I used to love making samosas. I mean, I still do, but it was more like, I'm making samosas for a Christmas party. I'm making somebody's birthday. I'm going to send them samosas. It's something happening. I'm going to send samosas. And then somebody at my husband's work said, why are you giving these out for free? Start selling them. And I'm like, well, who would buy them, right? Like, why would somebody buy my samosas? And then my husband pushed me. He's like, Fatima, you know what? What's the worst that'll happen? Nobody will buy them. And I'm like, true, right? But I'm like I'm a very sensitive person. And so for me, I'm like, yeah, well, if nobody buys them, I'm going to be sad. But luckily, you know what? The community was super supportive. Our friends, our family, everybody was so supportive about it that it just took off. And in fact, this Friday coming is our 30-year anniversary for our business.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's super exciting, super exciting. And yeah, that's basically it. And then I started adding, new things to the menu. But again, if you look at my menu, it's very East African. Again, I'm from Kenya, I'm from Tanzania, and you know what? I love sharing my culture with people. I love, like, when people tell me, Fatima, I want to try mandazi. Like, people who have never even heard what mandazi is, they're like, we want to try mandazi. I'm like, yes, of course you do. That's my story.
And tell me, like, now, tell people where they can find your samosas, because I know you're selling everywhere.
So I sell them as well myself. So you can reach out to me directly and place an order, and that's totally okay. But I also am available at Ambrosia. So all the Ambrosia locations, there's one in Newmarket, there's one in Avenue Road, Thornhill, and Vaughan. All of them carry my product. And in fact, anybody who wants them, they're on sale right now for the holidays. So go and grab your samosas. It's actually a really good price. Even me, I was like, wow, that's a really good price. But they're all natural ingredients, fully organic. So yeah, if you want to, please go and get them there. In Aurora, they're at a place called Aroma Indian Groceries.
Mhm.
Um, the owner is so sweet. Like Andrea, if you met this guy, he's so sweet. But they have it there as well. So yeah, those are a couple of places that you can get my samosas.
And
And we're
everybody
hoping
knows
to grow.
like this show, like we basically most our audience is like the Spanish community, right?
Yes.
So we all love ambrosia. Like we go there because like they even have a yuca. We eat a lot of yuca
Yes.
in America, so they have a lot of things amazing there. And it was cool because I worked with them a couple of years ago when they were opening the Avenue Road location.
Okay.
So I did the soft opening for them, the social media and so on. And like I was already a client, and then I became they became my clients, and it's like it's an amazing. It's my favorite place. So
You know what? When I first got into Ambrosia, I literally like, do you know when they say, when you give business to a small business owner, they do a happy dance. They actually appreciate it. And I can tell you right now, that moment I got the email from Ambrosia saying we'd love to carry your product, my husband and I, we were so happy. Like I can't even express how happy we were. We were like, what, like Ambrosia wants to hold my product, this is like freaking amazing, right?
mhm.
And like we've gone down to do a couple of demos. In fact, if anybody wants to try them, December 15th I will be at the Vaughan location doing demos. But yeah, like I super excited to be a part of Ambrosia. The staff, the people there are so nice. Like, because it's nerve-wracking. This is new for me too. Again, I'm a small business, and so for me it's new. And you go to these places, you're nervous, you're like, what am I going to expect, what
I
kind of
know.
response, right? And forget the customers are all so nice, but the staff, they're so helpful. They're like, do you need anything, do you need a chair, do you need this, do you need that? I'm like, you're so nice, thank you, because that makes the process so much easier.
Yeah, totally, totally.
Yeah.
And we always expect like especially like ambrosia that it's big, right? We look at outside and we are like, oh, they're never gonna answer my emails, right? So
Right.
totally the opposite. They are like a very nice family business, like amazing.
And they're quick to respond. Like as a small business, once when Ambrosia was not the only place I reached out
Uh-huh.
to, I reached out to so many different
And
places.
it's funny because like some small business don't answer the email when they answer. Like I know because like the same process you go. Like I have a startup and we work with natural food, and we work with food that can heal. We work on phytotherapics, so
Okay.
food that heal things and also like delay Alzheimer. And we are in studies with some universities. So it's a different field, but like I contact two small business and big business to carry my products, and not saying that was me. It was like something totally like different and separated.
Yeah.
And some people gave me an amazing answer, and like a small business I never heard. So and
Yeah.
Ambrosia is of course one of the places that was super nice. And it was like not me, it was like Andrea doing the presentation of the products and everything, like
And it's so nerve-wracking, right? Like you
uh-huh.
yourself are such a confident human being, but when you're doing something that it's like your item, and if somebody rejects it, it's going to hurt a lot. So you're risking it all to present it, you're risking it all to share it. And like it's like, I don't know what to expect, but here are all the cards on the table. Now you tell me what you want to do, right?
Yeah, and especially like for us, the Latino community, like most of us, we immigrated later, right, in life. Like I immigrated here, I was already on 30s, right?
Okay,
My
yeah.
30s. So it's different because I don't have the perfect English. I
You s
have
you
so
have a
much.
beautiful accent. I love your
Thank you.
accent.
And it's like sometimes I was just talking yesterday with my mom because I want her to join like a seniors program, and she was like, "Oh, but those lunches with the ladies, what I'm gonna talk? Like I lost most of my English through the years." No, no, no. And then I was like, "Mom, you just go and you sit there, order your food, and where are you from? Where are you from? And then how long you been here? Look, and that's it. That flow, right?"
Let half of it fly. It's okay. You don't need to understand everything. As long as you pick up on the little tidbits, you're good to go.
Yes, I'm very fan of a huge fan of samosas, and my husband is Japanese. He loves samosas,
Wow.
and he loves spice food in general.
So, one thing about my samosas, and it disappoints some and it excites others, it's my samosas aren't spicy.
Yeah,
So, if anybody's ever met me at a farmer's market or any market in general, I tell everybody this. My husband calls me a fake Indian. He's like, you possibly cannot be Indian because I can't eat spicy food. Like I can't eat it. And so my samosas aren't spicy. So every time somebody orders from me and says, Fatima, can you make them spicy? I don't test the filling. I make my husband test it. I'm
uh,
like, you test it, you find it spicy, then it's good to go. Because for me, even a little bit, I'll be like, oh, this is too much.
but there is a difference between cooking Kenya people and Indian, right?
Yes.
Totally different, right?
So with Indian samosas, like the typical Indian
Uh-huh.
samosas, they're actually called Punjabi samosas, and they're
Yeah,
very doughy, right? They're not crispy. With these East African ones that I specifically make, the pastry itself, it's
it's
thinner.
thin. Yeah.
Yes, and it's crispy and it's flaky, right? So that's the difference, right? I mean, and also my vegetarian samosas, it's not chickpeas or it's or not or just potatoes. It's potatoes, peas, carrots,
Hmm.
cilantro, onions, all together, all mashed up into one with all the spices and put in. So if you have kids who hate vegetables, this is the way to go.
Yes, totally, totally. Yes, that's amazing.
Yeah, and even like my meat samosas, generally, like whether it's
Uh-huh.
organic or not organic, there's no oil that goes into it. So I don't cook the meat itself is not cooked in oil. The filling
Mhm.
is not made in oil. It cooks in its own fat essentially. And then if you choose not to fry them,
Yeah,
then you're getting a completely oil-free product.
yeah, totally. Yeah, and today, like with air fryers, you can do everything. Like we have something similar in Brazil that it's a dough that we deep fry. It's called
Yeah.
pastel, and it's like something that we love. I'm obsessed with that thing. So I do a lot, but like I do on the air fryer.
Yeah, so I and I have a video of it on my Instagram page, but so the thing that I'm talking about mandazi. Mandazi is basically an East African donut made
Hmm.
with coconut milk,
Oh
right?
my god.
So yeah, and I mean I love coconut milk. I put coconut milk in everything. It's unhealthy. It's a real unhealthy obsession, but that's fine. So with mandazi, you're supposed to deep fry it just like a donut, right? So that
Mhm.
it can fluff up. And so the other day, my husband's like, I love mandazi, but I want a healthier version. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm going to try something. So I made the entire recipe using atta, wheat flour.
Okay.
I used wheat flour and then I put honey instead of sugar.
Oh.
I avoided all oils or anything, and instead of deep frying it, I put it in the air fryer. And I was
Uh-huh.
like, I'm gonna get cookies. I'm guaranteeing I'm gonna get cookies. They turned out exactly as they would if I
Mhm.
fried them. I
Mhm.
was so impressed. They were still fluffy. They were still soft. I'm like, whoa, this is amazing.
Yeah, it's like we can still eat the food we love. It's healthy. You see, like you can bring the veggies for the kids. You don't need to use oil to fry the
Yeah.
samosas. Although once in a while it doesn't kill anyone, so you
I
can
mean, come
use.
to the farmers markets, come to all the markets, come get me, see me, and I'll give you the fried versions. You guys, you don't need to do unhealthy at home. Come to me. I'll do the unhealthy for you.
That's cute. And tell me, you ever been back to Kenya?
So I was actually in Kenya 2 years ago.
Okay.
If you again on my Instagram, there's a whole story
Uh-huh.
of me going back home, and I had a samosa there, and they had put feta cheese inside, and like it was so gooey and nice, and I'm like, what is this? But I had gone. So I have a sister-in-law in Kenya.
Mhm.
My husband's sister, she's in Kenya, and one of my favorite people, to be very honest. And so she went and she gave us the time of our life when we went. I personally haven't been to my home yet. Again, we don't have any family in Nakuru, so I haven't been there. We mostly just visit Tanzania. So
Yeah.
my husband's grandmother is in Tanzania. My husband's parents are in Tanzania, and then my grandmother is in Tanzania. So the recipe owner is in Tanzania.
Okay.
Um, so I love telling this story just because it brings back such great memories. But when we were very young, we had moved here again when I was 4 in 96. So there's no internet, phone lines. If you remember, you used to have to scream on the phone to make sure the other person hears you. Time difference, all of that. And my mom used to get letters from my grandma who's in Tanzania,
Wow.
and she used to write stuff down, like she would give a recipe or something in the letters, but they were written in Gujarati.
Oh,
So none of us spoke Gujarati or read Gujarati except for my mom, right? So we would all, I still remember it so vividly. We would all sit on her bed. She would read us these letters from her mother. And the recipe was one of the things that was in these letters. And so my mom used to make them all the time. Then she passed on the recipe to me and my sister-in-laws.
mhm.
And I'm like, now your recipe. And I remember when I started the business, my grandma wasn't too happy. She was like, oh, what's the need for this? And do you really need to? And blah, blah, blah. And then recently my parents were there like a month ago or so. And my mom showed her my Instagram page, and she's like, this is your daughter. Like, this is what she's doing. Look at, like, this is what samosas have become and everything. She was so proud. She was like, initially I didn't know where this would go, what she would do with
Uh-huh.
it. But now I'm like so happy that like she took this somewhere, and I'm like, grandma, I made you famous. Like, you should be happy.
Yeah, that's true. That's like family recipe is always the best.
It
Like
is,
we,
yeah.
we love cooking home, and I always tell people like when I moved to Canada, because I work with art education cultural projects for over 30 years, and when I moved to Canada, like I stopped working for a while, and when I resumed my career, I told my husband like I should go back to study. I should go to a college and try to a chef. Uh, but he was against.
Yeah.
Like, no, it's too much work. I don't want you to work. And then, short story long, like I didn't. But like my daughter is 12 now, and she wants to be a chef. So she cooks
Oh.
in my small business. It's she we go to industrial kitchen because we know the hustle, right?
Yes.
So we need to be food certificated. Like she
Yes.
has to she's like apprentice, so she cannot join everything, and it's her business.
Very
And
good.
we created this for her to learn the backstage, because like most people that wanna start a business, they don't know, they don't have any idea how they should start, like
Yeah.
preparation of the food, things they should know, right? The
Yeah.
costs, like labeling, all the stuff.
Right. And I'm going to tell you a funny story about that. So I am terrible at math, like terrible at math. And my husband, on the other hand, is my walking, talking calculator. I call him a calculator, right? So when I first started this business 3 years ago, the first week that I posted my samosas, I got a lot of orders, right? And like a lot in what is a lot for a small business, right? So it was like 5-6 orders, and I'm like, oh my god, I got 5-6 orders, right? And I made about, I want to say, $350 that first month, right? Which is quite a lot for a small business who's just starting out. For me, it was like, oh my god, $350. And I said to my husband, I'm like, I'm going to take this $350 and I'm going to buy myself something really nice, right? Because I made $350. And he's like, you didn't make $350. I'm like, what are you talking about? Here's $350. And I'm showing him $350. And he's like, who's going to deduct your materials? Who's going to deduct your labor fees? Who's going to deduct electricity? Who's going to deduct all this? And he's like calculating all these things for me. And I'm like, what? I'm like, I don't know. I use the credit card. So what difference is it? And I was like so blinded. But it's like when you say stuff like that, it's so true. I'm so glad you're teaching your daughter that from a young age, because me at 31 had no idea that I had to do
And
all.
it's true, because like I didn't learn to, like I never worked for money. I never had like all my education cultural projects. I always did like, and I was not never thinking about the money. And we have to teach them to be financially conscious, especially today with all this economics the way they are. And for me, taking my daughter, I told my husband like. It's amazing because like the money we made, I got a notepad, and then I was telling her like, we're gonna have to pay this, and after this,
Yeah.
we're gonna split.
Yeah. I don't think she liked that very much.
Because like I was giving her like my time, and I was the one. I didn't charge her the gas, by the way, to go shop everything, the products, to organize everything, and then like I told her like, you rent an industrial kitchen by hour and you do all the stuff. So we were lucky because there was a lady that owned the industrial kitchen, and she was one of our clients, and she wanted us to do for her to sell. So she didn't charge the industrial kitchen. She
Oh,
said like,
lucky, yeah.
from 1 to 3 on Fridays you can use it.
Oh my God,
And then
lucky her.
and then I was like, Charlotte, you cannot skip school. So 1 week, yes, you go with me. I take you out of the school earlier. The other week, you don't go. I
Yeah.
do myself. And then the other one, you go. So we were like, when we had like the others, we were skipping because it was the only time we didn't
Yeah.
pay, right?
And you know what? Every dime matters. Like, somebody once said to me, they're like, "Oh my gosh, you go to like a different store to buy onions, and then a different store to buy meat, and a different store to do this." And they're like, "Does it really make a difference saving, a couple of dollars here and a couple of dollars here?"
Okay.
And I'm like, 100% it does. As a small business owner, 100%. Like every single dollar I save is important to me, right? I'm not a corporation where it's just a dollar. It's
No,
for me, it's
it's
a dollar.
and it's not even like about that, like because like here in my house, like we are very savvy. Like we go like I went to Vaughan to take my daughter for lunch at teppanyaki that she likes on Saturday.
Yeah.
So we drove there, and then I was like, okay, there is a new Dollar Tree there that is selling panetones, Christmas small cakes.
Oh yeah.
It's the Brazilian one, the
Okay.
brand. And then I was like, okay, let's go there. I have to buy 30.
Oh
So
wow.
it's part of the bags for all her friends at volleyball, at school stuff, for
Popular girl.
Christmas. So I have to buy one for each.
Oh
And
my
then I was like,
God.
I need to buy 30. Then I arrived at that, it was 175 each. And here it's 125.
Yeah.
We go to a famous supermarket that the logo is red and white, it's
Yeah.
999.
Oh.
And then I said, no, it's 175. I'm not gonna buy. And then my daughter, really? I said, yeah, if you put on the paper, it's gonna be $15 more expensive for me.
Exactly.
$15, I buy the bags.
100%. And it makes, like, as I said, every penny that you save makes such a big difference. And like I feel like kids in general, forget
Yeah.
this generation, even our generation, nobody taught us about money. And it's so sad, because that's something I really believe they should teach in school. It's a core subject that they should be
Mhm.
teaching. Kids are graduating and they don't even know how to monitor their money. They're like, oh, like my son, I was telling him, I'm like, what if you make $1,000 a week? What do you do with it? And he's like, oh, if I had $1,000, I would buy $1,000 worth of Roblox money. And I'm like, no, you would not. I'm like, you, first off, when you get $1,000, cut that in half. That's how much you're left with. The
Yeah.
500 that goes into your savings, you forget about it. I'm like, that's the mentality you need to start living
Yeah.
with. And then I'm like, the 500 left with that, that's your bills, that's your expenses, that's all that gets deducted. You're left with maybe $100 if you're lucky. I'm like, then you can go and buy your Roblox money,
Yeah,
whatever you
exactly.
need to buy, right? And he's like, just 100. I'm like, yeah, well, what do you think? And he's like, why do I need to save so much? I'm like, when you grow up, you'll understand. Right now, you enjoy life.
Exactly, because like we have so much to teach, and you have just a boy,
2 sons.
2 sons, and you are very important for them. You are every time the mom goes outside, because uh, the provider image is always the father,
Yeah.
right? And every time a woman from the family goes outside and create a business and go, you show, you talk, and it's amazing how much you inspire the kids,
I
not
appreciate
only
you
like
saying that.
for girls but for boys too. And they see the whole universe different because they see how powerful a woman is.
I appreciate you saying that. And it is nice when my boys are excited, and it's so nice to see all three of my boys, including my husband,
Yeah.
when we have large orders. I sometimes wish I could just set up my tripod and do all that, but it's such a chaotic moment that you don't have time to think about that. But like, it's chaos, right? Somebody's taking out takeaway containers, one person's putting labels on, one person's frying, one person's doing it, and it's like everybody has their roles and they know what they're doing. And it's nice, because after that, when we go out for dinner, right, and we pay for it, we're like, we all worked hard towards this. It wasn't just mommy doing all the work and we're now enjoying it. It's
It's
all
a
of us worked
teamwork,
and now we're all enjoying it. It's really nice.
and it bonds the family together,
It
right?
does.
Like
My
I believe
son.
I believe like a family business. Of course, like if you have like nephews, cousins, and so on, and then you probably gonna have more problems because like people are different families,
Yeah.
right? They are all family, but they are small arms branches.
Right.
So
Right.
it's a little different, and you grow up different. Each house is different. But like when we are like kids, like I have just one daughter, right?
Yeah.
And she likes to go with me to do the things. And my husband is always like, my husband is the kind of the lawyer speech.
Oh.
He's from IT, right?
Okay.
And so he's always on the lawyer side, like if this happened, if that happened, like you have to
Oh
do
my
this.
God, just like my husband. I swear. I always tell my husband, I'm like, why are you so pessimistic? Like, start thinking better. Like, what if something good happens? Have you ever thought of that? And he's like, well, somebody, because so I'm a dreamer.
Yeah, me
I'm
too.
a dreamer, right? Like,
You
I
have to
always tell him, I'm
be.
like,
Yeah.
we'll pass by these beautiful houses, and I'm like, Hatim, imagine that could be our house. Imagine. And he's like, Fatima, stop, come back to earth. You need to come back to earth.
But that's how we achieve goals, by
I told
dreaming.
him, I'm like, you got to manifest. You have
Yeah.
to manifest, right? Like, I'm like, 3 years ago when I started this business, it was literally a side hustle. It was meant to be like, extra income, whatever comes.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, I saw potential in it, and other people saw potential in it. Forget me.
Yeah.
I remember the first time that I felt like, oh my gosh, my business is something, is there was a client that bought something from me for the very first time, and I was very nervous. He was a very like big figure, and he came himself to pick up the order. And he messaged me after, he emailed me, and he said, "Hi, Fatima. I would just like to say to you that these are probably the best samosas I've ever had. And as somebody from East Africa, I think it's amazing that you're creating this." And he's like, "And if you ever decide to take this further, if you decide to open up a store or something like that, I would love to invest in you." And I was like, oh my God. Like, I'm like, that
Well,
was such a big eye
amazing.
opener.
Yeah.
Right? It was an eye opener. I was like, I remember screenshotting that and sending it to my husband. I'm like, "Can you believe this? Like, this is crazy. Who would have thought?" And then the same thing when I got the email from Ambrosia, the same thing when I got the order from Aroma Indian groceries. I was like, damn it, this is amazing. Like, I who would have thought? Who would have thought?
And it's like every step, right, pushes you to the next one. And then
You always
like
want more. Yeah. It's like, it's every morning I wake up and I'm like, what more can I do today? Like before I used to be like, yeah, if I get an order, great. If I don't, it's okay. Now it's like, why am I not getting orders? What can I do differently? Or what am I doing that's causing me not to get orders? Or,
Mhm.
like it's always like, that's all that, like,
Mhm.
I don't know if you can see my earrings. This is how obsessed I am with samosas.
Ah, that's cute. I love it. I love it.
This is how obsessed I am with samosas. I every time, like, my friends and I went out and we were doing painting, and
Mhm.
everybody was like painting landscapes and painting this. I was busy painting golden triangles.
Uh-huh.
And they're like, "Fatima, what are you doing?" I'm like, I'm obsessed with my business. That's all I think about. Like, I love my business. I love what I do. And people are like, "I don't need to give her a review. Like, they're great, but I don't need to say anything to her. She probably already knows." But what people don't realize is, again, as a small business owner, every review I get is even more, it makes me even more happier. Like, it's like, "Thank you so much for taking the time to tell me that you enjoyed my product." It makes a difference.
It totally makes. And it's like a lot of customers trust the reviews and go after to shop when we are
Yeah.
shopping. So it's very important to set up reviews and support a small business. I always talk with the community. Doesn't cost you anything. Go
No.
there, stop it doing nothing. Go there on your phone, put the reviews, put a like on the post, do a small comment, put a heart, like those small
Yeah.
things to raise engagement, and it's very important.
It is. And again, it's every, like, and my husband laughs at me all the time, but every time I see a new follower, I literally do like a secret happy dance. I'm just like, "Eh, one more, one more." Like, and you see memes about this, you see posts about this, and you're like, not everyone's like that, but I can genuinely tell you,
But
sitting right
I'm
here.
still like this too, because I go and I see, oh, this person is following me. Look at this. Oh, she's an amazing lady. Oh, she cares for nature. She can. I go because everybody that follows me, I go there and I see a lot of scammers and
Yeah.
those people like bad things. So
Yeah.
that ones I don't click and don't go because you already know the names. Like
Yeah, you
they
can
are good,
tell.
they have a pattern. And then, but like the other ones that follow me, I always go to the profile and I want to see and I want to support, give a like.
And
Uh,
it's exciting, right, to see what people are doing. Like when we go to these markets, even Hatim and I are always so impressed by like what people are selling, what people have come up with. So like recently I was at the Bradford Farmers Market, and I
mhm.
can tell you right now, like, everything I bought like spicy honey, I bought spicy jam, and and this is somebody who doesn't eat spicy food, but I love all, like, I don't know what's happened to me, but all of a sudden now I love candied jalapenos and stuff like that. Like, so
But they are not alone, right? They are combination of flavors, right?
yeah, and it's everybody selling their own different things, and it's like, wow, like, what, I would have never thought of that, or I would have never thought of mixing this and this together. But here is somebody doing it and it tastes amazing. So you discover so many new things, right? And just like you, every time somebody follows me, I don't just do a happy dance. I'm like, let's go see who they are. What do they do, right? And it's interesting. It really is. It makes me happy, especially when I see, and not taking away from any of the guy listeners. I love you guys the same. But every time I see a woman entrepreneur, I am like, girl, I got you. I'm
Yeah,
following you
I
too.
know the
I know
pain.
you do it. More power to you.
You know what's funny? Because when I started the research for my product, it was March 2020. And when I start the research, I'm not a researcher, so I hire people to
Yeah.
do, right? So I start the company hiring people, investing on all those things, and then I start getting feedback from researchers, universities, and all these papers. And then I was like, okay, so now I have to go to the lab to create the products, to develop. So I had all the team. And the beginning, I had someone that was connecting with everyone for the products, because I didn't want people, because I had some clients that I want to present the products, but I didn't want them to know it was me.
Oh, why?
Yeah, because like I thought they would think, oh, what she's doing, like and then like I was very skeptical of being a woman entrepreneur on the
Oh,
startup business in Toronto. And I put a guy to introduce the products, and he was the marketing of the company. I put him as
yeah.
marketing on the company, and he was introducing the products and saying like always about our team, and never talking. And then for most people, they still think like I bought the company.
Oh
But it's not. I
no.
founded the company. Yeah,
Oh
it's funny
no.
because I just came out as owner of the company like 1 year ago.
Oh my gosh, no. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I hope people realize, and I wish success to that business, because as I said, like, as a woman entrepreneur, and I'm not saying that I'm sitting here doing all this by myself. Like, I say this all the time, and I say it very proudly. Like, if it weren't for my husband, if it weren't for my kids, honestly, my business would be nowhere. Like, my husband always laughs. He's like, I am your stock boy. That's all I am to you. Like, no, there's more to you than that. But anyhow, because every time my stock is finished, right, I'll call him up and I'll be like, hey, Hatim, can you go pick this up, pick this up, pick this up, pick this up? And like, there are days where he's like, well, when he comes home late because he's had to do all these errands before coming
Mhm.
home, I'll be like, oh, you always come home late. You never come home on time. And then he hands me the box and he's like, anything else? like, I'm like, true. Okay. I
But
will, I
those
will.
are, yeah, those are the hustles like a small business go through, and we only go over that thing because there is passion.
Yes,
Because there
100%.
is a passion in what we do. Like what and my main thing was just before pandemic, like 3 months before pandemic, Quest Nutrition hired me to do social media for them. And then
Okay.
I was doing Quest. And then the first thing that I did was to read the case, how they found it, right? And how it started doing granola bars in the kitchen. A
Yeah.
very poor couple. And it was funny because now they are $100 million business, right? US dollars. It's even big.
What?
So, um, and when I started reading, they were from the kitchen doing things, and then I was like, well, if they did it from the kitchen, I can hire people, so I'm already ahead of that, right?
Yeah.
So I can invest money, I can do things. Why not? So that's how I started, and
That's impressive. What a story. Like, that's such an inspiration, right? Like, from where to where, right? And that this is the dream. That is the dream of every small business owner, right? That one day we're going to be at a place where somebody is telling somebody else that this girl started a samosa business, now she's worth $100 million, right? Like, that
exactly.
is the dream.
Yeah, and it's like you never lose your essence, right?
No.
because like as an entrepreneur, like I'm 100% sure, like when your business that is here now, it's gonna be here, you're gonna be looking for something else to add to the business and to do more,
How to
because
grow.
that passion drives us.
It does. It does. And so when I first started this business, I remember my brother, telling me, he's like, it's great that you have this business, but don't let it get to your head, and don't let, like, because he's like, once you let it get to your head, the product's quality will drop. And he's like, once the product's quality drops, you're going to lose clientele, and you don't want that. He's like, always be humble and always just make sure that, you're going for quality over quantity. And, a lot of times I've had people where they'll be like, oh, your prices are higher than XYZ, or, we can get cheaper samosas somewhere else. And I'm like, I respect that. And it's true. You can, right? I'm not denying the fact, but I refuse to use, terrible quality products
Yeah.
in my samosas. I refuse it, because at the end of the day, the same samosas that I'm feeding all of you,
Uh-huh.
I'm feeding my family too. It's not
Yeah.
like I have a separate or special batch for my family and a separate, cheaper batch for everybody else. It's all one batch, that if my kids go, mommy, we want samosas, I'm like, sure, same batch, right? So
Uh-huh.
I have to think of it that way. Is this good enough to feed my family? And if it is, then it's good enough to feed my community. And that's how it always should be. Like, I'll tell you a story. There was, when I first initially started my business, this is the first year, again, you're looking for opportunities to grow. You're looking, like, for any opportunity that'll expose your product. And a grocery store reached out to me, and they're like, we'd like to keep your product. And I said, wonderful. Like, I was so excited. I'm like, yes. And they gave me an order, and then they called me and they said, we want you to come down to the store, and we want to show you why we can't sell your product. And I said, okay. So he opened up my samosa, and he's like, and then he opened up the competitor's samosa, and he's like, what's the difference? And I'm like, I don't know, right? Like, you start doubting yourself, like, what's wrong, right? And he's like, your samosa is filled with meat and not fillers. You don't have any fillers in your samosa, therefore it's harder to sell it for a lower cost,
Oh,
because it has too much meat in it, kind of thing, right? But
uh-huh.
he's like, the competitors is mostly pastry and onions. He's like, you need to start putting more onions in your samosas so that your costs can drop, and we can start selling your samosas at the regular price that we can sell the competitors at. And I'm like, but then the quality drops. And he's like, that's fine, because people don't care. All they see is a samosa and they want to buy it. And I'm like, no. I'm like, that's not how I see it, because you put my name on a product. Somebody's taking that home thinking we're getting Fatima samosas. And then they open it up and it's filled with onions. I'm like, that's ruining my name, first off. And I'm like, that's ruining my reputation. People are going to start associating me with garbage products, and that's not what I
Mhm.
want.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing that you didn't.
Yeah, I mean, I stopped selling to him. I'm like, either you sell it as is, or we don't sell it at all. And I mean, he
Yeah.
he dropped out. He said, I can't sell it, and I was like, that's totally okay.
Yeah, it wasn't your public.
No, it's not. And again, I won't compromise on the quality
Yeah.
just to make the price more
Yeah.
affordable,
Yeah,
right? Like,
exactly.
it's not expensive, but it's not cheap either. And I think it's a healthy balance.
Mm-hmm.
To me, I think it's a healthy
Yeah,
balance.
like if you want to buy quality, you have to pay for quality, right?
Yeah,
That works for everything in life. Like
exactly. You get what you pay for.
your shoe, your car, your food. Like if you want to eat like canned food, it's gonna be cheaper.
Yeah,
But like
exactly.
in the front, like you're gonna pay the price, right? Whatever you're
Right.
not spending on health food today, you're gonna spend in healthcare later. So eat right
Great
now.
way of saying it. Great way of putting it. I couldn't have said it better myself. That is the best way to put it. And again, like, no preservatives, no fillers, no oil. Like, even the oil that I use is olive oil. Like, I don't go, oh well, it's for the community, so it's okay. Let's just use whatever oil. I'm like, again, if my kids were to eat this, if my kids were to ask for this, am I confidently as a mother saying, sure, kids, you can have this too. And if I, at that point, I'm saying, no, my kids can't have this, then why can the community have it?
Yeah, totally, 100%. Like,
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Your point of view, like,
Thank
yeah,
you.
if I feed my family with this, is this the same quality I'm selling? Yeah, that's
Exactly.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's my story. That's my small little business. I mean, we're always looking to grow. We've partnered with a couple of caterers, which is
Mhm.
really nice. And yeah, like I mean, and yeah, that like I don't know if you've seen one of my stories. I say and yeah a lot. And I told somebody, I'm like, we should turn this into a drinking game where every time I say and yeah, somebody has to take a shot.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. I've been to South Africa. I still didn't visit East Africa,
Yeah.
but I have a dream to go to Kenya because I need to visit the giraffes.
Yes. Yes.
Oh my gosh. Like, I have two passions, the baby elephants and the giraffes.
Oh.
So my cat is watching me here. He's like, betrayer.
Just tell your cat I can't bring the giraffe home, so you're
Yeah,
safe.
exactly. So you're safe because, like, I'm not bringing no elephants, no giraffes.
No, you can't. Poor thing's gonna die here in the cold.
Yeah, exactly. So
Oh man.
I have a passion and I want to go. One day it's on my list to go.
Yes, we did the Serengeti with our kids one year, and that was such an experience. We stayed in the tents.
Uh-huh.
It was such an experience because you could hear like animals screeching in the middle of the night and stuff,
Uh-huh.
and then in the morning, like the Maasai's, so that's a tribe in Africa. They have a tribe called the Maasai tribe, and so they were guarding the tents and stuff to make sure animals aren't like gonna
Uh-huh.
attack us and whatever, right? And they were like, yeah, a lion caught a hyena or a lion caught a deer or whatever in the middle of the night, and that's what you were hearing. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah. That I did Mala Mala on Kruger Park, and it's a life changing experience because, like, you see nature in a total different perspective and how you should respect. And I'm completely against, like, marine lands and zoos. I don't think animals should be on
Caged.
jail. They we should save the animals, like trying to increase the number, like reproducing and all the stuff. Yes, and then put them back on the natural habitat, but never like jailing for tickets. And the example is this, like the kangaroo running around our town, like this week, right? We had this thing that I'm like, oh my gosh.
It's a natural zoo. The kangaroo's like, here we go. I'm out.
And it's funny because I used to live in Vaughan. I lived like almost 14 years in Vaughan, and
Wow.
then I moved up to Innisfil, and I'm here. And when I moved here like 3 years ago, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm in the middle of nowhere, and it's so amazing." Like the first month I was living here, there is a group on Facebook, and there was a horse on the run, and in the main street, the horse was there like 5 a.m. in the morning, and it was so funny. The horse name was Stella. I will never
Oh.
forget. So the farm owner of Stella came to the rescue, and then I was like, "This is what I love, being outside the town, because I grew up as a town girl,
Yeah.
and now I can see, like, I have alpacas here, cows and horses and so on, and Africa is like s- something that has my heart.
Yeah, it's a very, you know what, I always think that, when I moved to Tanzania, I was very skeptical because again, I grew up here. Yes, I was born there, but again, I grew up here, so I didn't know what to expect. And when I moved there, honestly, I was like, wow, like this is a whole new world, right? And
Mhm.
the people there, like even like my maid was my best friend. I loved her so much. She taught me Swahili. So I moved. So I tell this story all the time because I get mad at my husband and my brother all the time for this. But when I moved to Tanzania, I didn't speak Swahili at all. Not a word of Swahili I could speak. And I remember I got married, and the next day, my brother and my husband, they're both at home. And they're like, can you go tell the maid to make some black tea?
Uh-huh.
And our maids are all our maids are black, right? So I'm like, okay, cool, yeah, no, I'm like, how do I say it? And they're like, don't worry, you'll figure it out, you're a smart girl. And I'm like, okay. So I knew a couple of words, and I'm like, I just have to formulate some sort of sentence and tell her. So I went up to her and I said, I'm like, Mariamu, kari chai yako. And she gave me the dirtiest glare. I literally got a death glare from her. And I was like, what did I say? And meanwhile, my brother and my husband are in the background laughing their eyes out. And I'm like, what did I just say to this woman? And why is she looking at me like this? And they're like, you called her black tea. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, I'm so sorry, Mariam. I'm like, I didn't mean that at all. And she started laughing too, because obviously she figured out I don't speak Swahili, right? So she's like, you're so dumb. She's like, this is, and then she would in her own way teach me, like, this is how you say it. Or, I'd go up to her and I'd show her like a tomato, and she would teach me how to say tomato. Or, I'd like make a gesture and she would teach me how to say. And so I learned how to speak Swahili, which was fantastic, because now when I want to talk about my kids in front of them to my husband, we speak Swahili because they don't understand it.
That's a mommy superpower.
Yeah. I mean, they know we're talking about them, but I'm like, you'll never figure out what we're saying.
Fatima, thank you so much for joining me tonight. And please share your contacts, like all your contacts.
So so my phone number is 416-670-1987. You guys can text me, call me on that number to place orders. My Instagram account is Fatimas_samosas 13. 13 is because I was born on the 13th, so 13. So if you guys want to message me on Instagram as well, that's probably the fastest way to reach me. And then again, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, and I'm, you can call me or text me.
And she's on all Ambrosia stores.
Yes.
And also she's on Aroma.
Yes.
It's Aurora, right?
It's in Aurora, correct. And I offer free delivery to Bradford every other Friday. So reach out to me if you're in Bradford. If you're in Stouffville, I also deliver to Stouffville for free. So I have free delivery days as well. Follow me on Instagram.
Any market you're doing now?
I have one more market, my last one this year. It's in Bradford. I'm really excited to end with Bradford because honestly, I love the people of Bradford. It's on December 16th at St. John's Presbyterian Church. Again, great vendors. If you're not coming for samosas, come for the other vendors. Everybody is so friendly, so nice. And it's from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So not this Saturday, the next Saturday after.
Okay, people, let's buy you frozen, ready-to-eat samosas and just warm up for your Christmas meal. Perfect appetizers.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Fatima, for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
I hope to meet you in person, and then we have a lot to talk.
Yes. 100%.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You as well. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.